I know that most of you have been saying, hey, what the hell happened to the classic sports review? Well, I'll tell you what happened. The guy I did this with was in Antarctica, and he didn't bring his internet with him.
Oh, yeah. We do have internet. It's just circa early 1990s, 56K speed. But yes, I'm back and glad to be back. Glad to do the show.
Yeah, Buffalo's greatest triathlete who went there and is now the greatest triathlete of the seventh continent. That's your new moniker, I think.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
The seventh continent's greatest triathlete. Yeah, let's run with that.
Sure, we'll go with it.
Right now, there's a bunch of Aussies who are confused. Possibly, I don't know. But yeah, so for the return show, we're looking at something that is returning, the United States Football League. And
yes, it is.
Somebody uploaded, I don't know if it was every game, but every televised game. So this was the first one, I think, on television that we're looking at, the Chicago Blitz versus the Washington Federals from March of 1983. And my first thought is, what a stupid name this is, the Blitz. What is the commentator going to say? Well, the Blitz are blitzing.
And that was a great blitz by the Blitz.
I guess. I mean, wouldn't it be great if they signed somebody and his last name was Ballroom?
It's a ballroom blitz.
Yes, for sure. And our first look is Jim Lampley. Man, there was a lot of hair on that man's head.
I know, he looked like he was 12 years old. I had no recollection of Lampley doing anything other than boxing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there he is, and then just getting it off the launching pad. This is the USFL and spring football.
And this is where I think my notes throughout this whole thing was, holy shit, these guys are absolutely underselling their product. If I was the producer, I would be livid, but then the producer is probably the one who told them to do this, because we all know going into this that these guys aren't as good as the NFL. It's an elephant in the room, but you don't have to talk about the elephant nonstop.
No, you're right right from the opening get-go, where they're selling George Allen, this legendary coach has a 70% winning percentage. He brings legitimacy to this league, all the way to Craig James, the running back, who was this galloping ghost in college, and he's going to light it on fire. And they even alluded to Herschel Walker and Coy Bacon, who was a 14-year NFL veteran. This is real football that we're going to have. And even bringing it down to the weather, where Lampley says it's spring weather, but this is a fall day that you would see in any NFL stadium. Yes. I mean, really, you're just trying too much.
And you're right, though, because they try the first 2 minutes. You've got, here's George Allen. You don't need to introduce him. We all know who he is.
No, Hall of Famer.
And then you bring out Tim Spencer, like in the box. And a lot of people don't follow college football, but if you're looking at this, it's like, oh, okay, so they signed somebody who was a star at Ohio State. Okay, well, that sounds good. Then they go to Ray Yawk. Ray Yawk was 45 at this point.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Geez, we're both older than him.
Yeah, Ray Yawk.
Can you imagine playing football at that age?
Well, there's only one who can do it. Oh yeah, so yeah, put him next to Tom Brady. Think of that for a second. Tom Brady at 45, Ray Yawk at 45. Ray was at that point the 6th winningest coach in CFL history, which is nothing to sneeze at. But he looks like I wrote down a cross between Richard Dreyfuss and Doc from the
Doc Brown.
Yeah,
it's close.
Yeah, and then they should do the box on Craig James. This was, I guess, the year before SMU got the death penalty.
I was thinking that when I was watching that. I'm thinking, SMU didn't have a football team shortly after this, where they just got obliterated by NCAA violations.
Yeah, so here's what I learned more about Mr. James here. So he said, I never took bribes. He had finally admitted it in 2012 that he did when he was running for Texas Senate. He was pretty much forced. Well, he got destroyed when he said the mayor of Dallas was wrong to attend a gay pride parade, reasoning that gays would eventually answer to the Lord.
I mean, SMU is Southern Methodist University. So any comments from any graduate from Southern Methodist University along those lines should not be a surprise. Not saying it's right or not, but it shouldn't be a surprise.
Well, he lost his job that he had with Fox Sports West, so they sacked him after that. So I remember, like, God, 30 years ago, I don't know, it was 30 years ago, the mayor of Toronto, Mel Lastman, who was kind of a goof, but he was the first mayor that I was aware of who ever attended one. And he just put it bluntly, said, well, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. So I'm just going to come here and have fun. And he did. So, but yeah, that was sort of an interesting sort of thing. We're going to see a lot of James not do much of anything, though. But yeah, Lampley starts off, it's football weather, like you said. And he says, well, I don't know if spring football is going to work, but it's up to all of you to see if we've got a credible product.
Right. I mean, that made my notes. Lampley, what is it? The spring weather, and basically saying, okay, if this league doesn't succeed, it's your fault. So tune in and buy tickets and go to this game.
Yeah, Lampley was also young in his career before really we knew much about him. Then he introduces someone else young into the broadcasting career.
Mr. Lee, not so fast, my friend Corso. Who would later go on and coach one of the USFL teams.
Yeah, Orlando in the last year of it. Corso, I thought he was better than Lampley overall, which doesn't say much.
You could see what Corso would later become in this telecast.
Yeah, which is basically he's a good pregame guy.
Uh-huh.
But as for an analyst, he just isn't there.
No.
Corso talks about, because he actually maybe he's making fun of himself, how he was just fired from, I forget which school it was.
Indiana,
okay. And he even says, well, Yock looks a lot older than he is. And then that's when I looked up the fact that he was only 45 at that point. Corso goes on to make a prediction that did not come true. He says that Tim Spencer is going to be better than Herschel Walker.
Yeah, I looked at the stats, and not so fast, my friend. Herschel was a bit better.
Yeah, and Spencer finished decent, 1,157 yards, 6 TDs.
Mm-hmm.
To Herschel's 18-12 and 17. But Corso says something that is going to become very true in the first minute. Washington's going to struggle because their offensive line is young. Code for sucks.
This wasn't probably the best USFL game we could pick, but with it being the first, it was appropriate.
Yeah.
And then I love the cutaways to it. They were just trying to feed whatever Herschel Walker did in the Generals LA game that was going on the left coast. They just, again, trying to push your star
which they should. That's what you do.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And we're better than the NFL. We're more progressive. We let this underclassman come into our league and be able to show what he can do.
Mm-hmm. And you got a good start. You have a star doing the national anthem. It's Lou Rawls. I love this guy.
Okay.
You'll never find another one like mine. Oh, say, can you see? Okay, but it was good. I like Lou Rawls. I mean, is it a guilty? I don't think it's a guilty pleasure. I think the guys, I like
whatever
him.
makes you happy, man.
Yeah. And Feds win the toss to receive, and it's 5'4" Reggie Smith.
Yeah.
Holy crap, 5'4".
You dwarf him, don't you?
At 5'7.5" and 3/4, I round up to 8. Yes, I do.
Yeah, you do.
And
you could have played in the USFL.
No. I definitely could not have. And then we're introduced to the offense. So here's the Feds offense. Quarterback Kim McQuillan, who last played in 1980, was a backup for 6 years. Never really was a starter, but he was a backup in Washington. Halfback Greg James, fullback James Mayberry, who never touched the ball. Flanker Mark Brown, who didn't see action until late in the game. Reggie Smith, who had a cup of coffee with Atlanta. Later on, he became a legend in the Arena League and is a member of their Hall of Fame. So I could see someone like him dominating in Arena. He probably would have done good in CFL too. Tight end Phil Dubois, I don't think his name was ever called the entire game. Last played with Washington Redskins in 1980. Then this offensive lineman where there's virtually nothing. Joel Patton, Chris Dolce, Bruce Byram, Mike Horton, and Dave Pacella. None of these guys.
Well, I think I can't remember whether it was Corso or Lampley basically came out and said nobody on this line is a household name. Well, yeah,
Yes,
you're right.
Don't say that. And
Yeah,
it's true. Most offensive linemen aren't household names. You know,
true, but I mean, you want to have someone who's a name on your offensive line.
well, and the other side did have someone who did become reasonably good. Actually, I wrote down here too. Mark Brown was a former, later become a Buffalo Bill for three games. I'm assuming. I'm surprised you didn't wear your Mark Brown jersey.
I have no recollection of that. And in fact, later on, what was the wide receiver that was getting everything thrown to him?
Tremaine Johnson.
Yes. The name just sounded familiar. I'm like, I got to look that up. And yeah, he had a cup of coffee, I think, in 86, 87 with the Bills.
87.
Was okay, but again, didn't amount to too much in the NFL.
Yeah. So, but again, like Lampley, why are you saying that? And then Corso comes in. Yeah, well, we can say Dave Pacella. Like he's the strongest. That's all you've got. And really, when you look at these five guys, that's really all you've got.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're going to be a problem. The only one who had any previous, Mike Horton did. He played last in 1980 with the Stampeders up in Canada. And Patton had last played same year. He was a backup for Indianapolis, San Diego, and the Rams. But the other three guys, there's nothing I could find about them.
Right. Yeah.
They go 3 and out. One tackle was made by Frank Minifield. I forgot that he started off in the USFL.
When the name was Frank Minifield, Cleveland Brown.
Yeah,
was partially responsible for tagging the fans, the dog pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he went on. I think he was Pro Bowler. I think all rookie team, all decade team. So he was probably the best player in that secondary.
Yeah, and he did get injured with a dislocated kneecap, but he still finished the year, sued at the end of the year to join the NFL, and it all worked out with him. So there was a lot of hard hitting in this. I mean, like this turned out to be a kind of a boring game if you're just looking for competitive action, but if you're just watching it for pure football and hits, this was fun, perfectly fine to watch.
Okay.
I was trying to be positive.
I know the score was just horrible, and I was just. What do I got from notes? I think at one point in the second quarter, Chicago had 200 yards of total offense, and Washington had 24. Yeah. I mean, that's just a tough game to just look at and say, okay, let's hope that the rest of this league isn't as uneven as this game is portraying it to be.
Which it wasn't, but
no, you're right.
Clearly, one team was better prepared than the other. The announcers did say that based on paper, the Blitz were favorites to win it all, and they did finish tied for the division, but they didn't advance due to I don't know, I think a head-to-head or something like that. So
yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, neither of these teams, like Chicago did finish well and Washington finished like crap. So either way, it's 3 and outs. The punter, I thought the punter was going to die on this first one because this punter
came right through.
Yeah, Hoffman, I think it's Mike. I forget his first name. I think it's Mike. But Hoffman, we saw way too much of this punter than we needed to. He never got a punt beyond 40 yards throughout this entire game. And the first 3 were blocked or near blocked. So they didn't spend a lot of money on special teams either.
No, I think, I don't know whether it was Corso or Lampley that said they didn't have any training. And there was no like mini camp or preseason camp. It was just get together, practice, and get ready for your season.
Well, that's kind of what we're looking at almost now with the USFL 2.0. There's not going to be any preseason. I don't think.
When does the game start up?
Next month. I mean, I'll be watching just because I love football, but
yeah,
it'll be background noise while I'm doing other shit. So we're introduced to the offense of Chicago. Much bigger names. Greg Landry, who is 37 at this point, but had some decent games with the Lions. he was the first ever drafted quarterback, they mentioned, of the 68 draft. And like, okay, that's sort of interesting. So was there anyone picked after that turned out to be any good? Only one, which is Ken Stabler, but the rest were all nobody. So arguably Greg Landry had the second best career of any quarterback drafted from that class. So
something to hang his hat on.
Yeah, for sure. Halfback Tim Spencer, Kevin Long, who last played with the Jets, had 2,000 yards. So not bad. Wayman Buggs, what a name that is. I mean, I think it's the opposite of when we were looking at Webster Slaughter in a previous show. And I said, yes. It doesn't matter what name you put in the front, you can give the nerdiest name and it's still going to be awesome. And it's like the two.
Actually, we didn't do that show. We didn't do the Cleveland Denver show, did we?
No, but Webster Slaughter was was playing for the Oilers.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, when we looked at
the Buffalo, the greatest comeback in playoff history. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, that's what we still got to do next time because I wanted to do the butt fumble, not the butt fumble.
It was the fumble. Yeah, them going in to score and then they just fumbled it away.
Ernest Spiner. Yeah. So yeah. Which means also I have to rewatch Hot Tub Time Machine, where that's referenced.
So we're going to do a combo show: Hot Tub Time Machine and the fumble.
Absolutely. Well, which also has William Zabka there. So I'm so happy that my favorite '80s actor is back,
making the comeback.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wrote down Wayman Buggs. That's one of the worst last names you can have, unless you're gonna just name your kid Lightning. Or June, or not Lady, I guess, but still
Heat Lightning,
something. Then Tremaine Johnson, who's from Grambling, who we talked about before. Paul Ricker, tight end. Their O-line is had a little bit more depth to it. Rob Taylor at left tackle. He went on to play 8 years with Tampa, so not too bad. Mark Stevenson, I never found much about him. Wally Peswit, I might be saying that wrong, but he last played for the Dolphins and the Lions. And Nick Iyer, who also, he played in the Oilers and was from BYU. So a little bit more name recognition here. Bugs gets a first down into Washington territory, and tackle comes by Coy Bacon. I forgot he was here too.
Coy Bacon, yeah. They interviewed him too.
Oh God, yeah. I just call that interviewer guy the sideline reporter. I didn't even write down his name. I just kept calling him Doofus. So yeah,
I vaguely remember the name, but I can't remember what else he amounted to, and I wasn't motivated enough to look it up and see what his career highlights were.
Yeah,
but yeah, he was another one that was trying to push the legitimacy of the USFL and trying to pull it out of Coy Bacon as he was sitting on the sidelines. And awkward interview.
Oh, they were all awkward as hell. Bacon got that huge ovation. 3-time Pro Bowler. Pro Football Reference did this amazing thing where they figured out sacks unofficially as of 1960. Bacon had 130.5 sacks.
That's a good number.
That's a lot, and was the unofficial leader, I believe, in 77. We finally see a false start penalty, but these refs were awful. They were missing call after call after call. But whatever.
They probably didn't have training camp either.
That's actually what they said. They even said that. Corso said, well, it's their first game too. Yeah, we know this, but well. All right, so nothing goes here. They're punting, and then Lampley. Well, it's a touchback once the end zone, just like any other football game. We're starting at the 20.
No need for that.
Yeah, you're just trying to legitimize this. Then here was something they said interesting, and I couldn't figure out why. After another James Rush, they mentioned that the USFL ball was 3/8 inch shorter, but I don't know why. I figure it out. Why did they do that?
I'm guessing it was the plot or the plan to eventually get around to getting Doug Flutie into the USFL. And I'm just assuming that he had smaller hands. Smaller ball means he could grip the ball better and perform to the star potential that he had going into the USFL.
That's a good a reason as any, because I couldn't.
I mean, maybe they knew the quarterbacks weren't going to be that big, or it was going to be subpar athleticism or subpar physical specimens coming into our league where we have to do a smaller ball for them to hold on to it.
That's about as good. Maybe that's it. That's probably why. But then
And then I think, was it Lampley or Corso that turned around and we were just talking about the punter having a problem punting, and he said, well, maybe it's that 3/8 of an inch that's upsetting his punting.
It's like, well, you've got this interesting fact, but we know nothing about why this was the case.
They never expanded on it.
And maybe it's because of the reason you just said.
Or the balls could have been cheaper.
That could have been it too. Then we get our sideline reporter. That was the thing where you mentioned earlier. And this is what he legit asked him. Is it comparable to the NFL? I wrote down if it's closed captioned, they would have came up with unintelligible, because I don't really know what Coy Bacon said other than he basically said, yes.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Unintelligible.
I don't know. He was, I didn't know what he was saying. 3 and out again, repeated before, almost blocked, fair catch. Oh, and here's a creepy line by Lampley. Hey, if you want cheerleaders, we've got 60 of them. 30 on each side.
Again, early 80s, you could get away with that.
Yes, you could. And
I mean, I think we addressed that in Battle of the Network Stars and that whole
yes, a throwback.
Blatant sexism.
Well, yeah, but the one who was the one who probably had the most fun that night was Debbie Allen. Check that out.
Yes, she did.
Check
and
that
our longtime listeners know what we're talking about. If you do not, go back to the archives and go look at that show with myself, Kirk, and I think we had Chris Huffins for that show.
Yeah, Chris is on that one. We're gonna get some. We're gonna get a lot more guests, I think, going on in the future for this. We're cross-pollinating shows too, so possibly, I don't know if I can get Andrew.
So we're gonna have mega crossover events.
Absolutely, it's called it's called branding, is what it is.
There you go, the crossover events.
Yeah, the only problem is if a lot of people dislike me, then, well, this brand is shit, isn't it?
Oh boy.
God. And then then goes on to say, well, George Allen does not notice cheerleaders when he's on the football field. George is at this point near senior. I didn't know this until I did the research, and they said it also at the end of the game. He's also a part owner and a team president. Yeah, he's got bigger things to do than worry about than worry about the cheerleaders. Are you trying to imply that on his off time that he's ogling them? Is that what they're saying?
I'm sure he wasn't the one that was sitting at the interview room checking out all the 60 cheerleaders and giving them his stamp of approval. I want to say he was probably in the film room or in the classroom trying to get these guys up to speed.
Not that I know much about makeup, but 80s makeup, I'll have to say, is not really conducive to attractiveness, and I'll leave it at that. Looking at some of these cheerleaders, they all look like my Aunt Kim, and that's not necessarily.
It was a different time. That was the style.
Yes, it was. Okay, so Landry finds Tremaine midfield. So for first down, Johnson gets the ball again, this time in the slot, nearly goes all the way, stripped at the 1. They never say by who.
No, they didn't.
Bugs recovers, touchdown Chicago. Corso's so excited. He was. I mean, Corso's legit excited to watch football. And as much as I think he's not a great commentator, at least you feel his energy. I'll give him that. And that's probably
sure. Good. I mean, definitely comes across as a college coach with the enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so actually, then they showed the federal coach, Yock. I checked. This guy's still alive, which is amazing.
Good for him.
Yeah. Let's see. So they did do the replay. So on the replay of that touchdown, Corso says, "Well, look at Johnson go. He's got these gorillas ahead of him."
Oh yeah, I wrote he can't get away with doing that today.
and he didn't do the research of who these players are, because he says, "Well, look at that. Well, number 68, number 75 are blocking for them." Like, you don't know who they are. Like, you gotta say these names. You want to make them a household name? Don't just use their numbers.
Yeah. Well, again, they're just starting out.
Yeah, like, oh man. I was trying to remember, like, what, like, isn't it all my life? You can't say shit like that. Like with like Howard Cosell 2 years before got in major shit because he referred to Alvin Garrett. I can't remember what team he was playing for, either the Giants or Redskins, something NFC East. And he said, "Oh, that little monkey sure gets loose, doesn't he?"
Oh yeah. He got a little bit of a shitstorm for that.
Right. So this is the same era.
I guess because nobody was watching. It's the USFL. I don't know. I don't know why Corso got away with that.
Of course, I'm not even sure. It was such bad. I don't, maybe, for all I know, the offensive lineman those in question might have been white.
Could have been.
I'm not even sure, and I didn't bother to check because it wasn't that important to me. I just thought that was like, Jesus, what are you saying? Like, there's some words you just don't say, and that's one. We get a game break. Frank Gifford here getting some extra coin. It gives us that update. Herschel Walker got a touchdown. New Jersey 6, LA 3. All right.
At this point, I'm thinking, why is Kirk making me watch this game? I could have been watching the LA Express and the New Jersey Generals.
I wrote down the same thing. But it was the first thing on the list. I didn't actually check the scores.
And yeah, that was what I was thinking. Is, we really need to do a little bit more research before we pick, not necessarily obscure games, but I mean, I don't know about you, but I maybe watched 2 USFL games in my lifetime, and that was because they were on in the house. And again, I'm going back to the era where we had one TV in the house with 2, 4, 7, 11, and whatever the other station may have been. And if Dad wanted to watch the football game or Grandpa wanted to watch the football game, that's what the whole house watched. So yeah, I had no recollection of how this game was going to end up, but I'm watching it first time, and yeah, the game break, and I'm thinking like, okay, I'm getting myself into that, like I'm watching this live for the first time, and it's like, okay, let me grab the clicker and go to the better game.
Yeah, I didn't check to see. I couldn't even remember who won actually the first USFL championship, and I think like you, I only saw a couple that year in '83, and probably just because I read about the hype about Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
So it was. I think there were both Generals games. But yeah, no, I picked that one because I was first in the queue of this guy's thing, and I just assumed that was the first one broadcast. Maybe this was on the East, the other one was on the West. I don't know.
I don't know either.
So let's just blame that guy. Don't blame me.
We'll go with that.
Yeah. Well, my dad's favorite advice to me was, only an idiot blames himself. Sadly, that's meant that every time he screwed up, it's never been his fault. Anyway, moving along. The Feds got the ball. McQuilkin gets his first down to Reggie Smith and up to the 49-yard line. Lampley says, "Hey, that's their first down." Corso at the replay says, I think that's the first one they got. So he's not even listening to his partner.
He's probably thinking, this Lampley guy, he's 12 years old. Why are they putting this kid in the booth with me? And Lampley's probably thinking, well, why do I got this old coach in the booth with me?
Oh, yeah. These two had no chemistry.
No, they didn't.
The refs, again, were terrible. They moved the ball back 3 yards after a 3-yard gain because reasons.
I didn't catch that, but yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so then there's Lampley saying, wait a minute, why are they moving the ball back? And then apparently they realized that they shouldn't be moving the ball back. They put it right back to the first line of scrimmage after James got his 3-yard gain. And then that's when Corsi said, well, it's their first game. And then they name the refs. Well, in case you're wondering who they are.
So you can send them hate mail.
Yeah. And then they said, well, yes, they're all household names. And then Lampley, these gentlemen are hoping, just as everyone else in the league, that they have a future. What the hell are you doing? What? You're telling don't keep saying how you're second class.
No, you gotta present it that it is first class, and you have to know these players' names, and you have to know their positions, and you have to know a little bit about their history, and you don't call them gorillas.
There's that, yeah. McQuillan loses the ball while getting sacked. It looked like he was trying to shovel it away. I don't know what he was trying to do there. Like he was trying to do a forward pass. Either way, it was an easy recovery. Recovered by Joe Ehrman, who was a 10-year NFL veteran who had 41 career sacks. So Chicago, they
had talent. They
yeah,
had talent.
Definitely had talent. Corso's already calling for the backup, Mike Hohensee. He would later, I read, he would actually play a cup of coffee for the Chicago Bears during the replacements games.
Okay, so in what year did they have their? Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, Hohensee would actually sort of play briefly for the Bears. We had 4 touchdown passes to 1 interception. So, yeah, not bad, I guess.
No.
3 short rushes to get to a first down for Chicago. Timekeepers got confused about a delay of game. And so Corso says, well, it's their first game too. Ricker gets a catch for the tight end for 10 yards, and that's the end of the quarter. And Jesus. So what was it? It's like 6 times where they're already saying how they're an inferior product. I don't know how you do this over and over and over again.
I don't know who was in charge of the pre-production meeting, but I hope they never worked again.
So do I, because they weren't prepped, or at least properly. Because if you're going to build Herschel and all the stuff on the other side, why are you doing this? They just said, okay, well, we trust you two to do whatever you want. Oh, you want to tell the truth? Jim, yeah, go ahead. Like, awful.
And they probably should have got seasoned announcers as opposed to a coach who's just coming off his job at Indiana and a 12-year-old Jim Lampley. I mean, you get someone who knows what they're doing.
I don't know that Lampley had ever done football before.
And I don't think he did it afterward either.
No, not.
We all know why.
Yeah, no, he wasn't very good. So then they mention, or Lampley does, well, when the AFL started, the quarterbacks were also journeymen who used to be with the NFL. Again, why are you saying this?
Yeah. I guess.
Like, what? Meanwhile, Corso is sort of like making Mike Owensy seem like the second coming of, I don't know, Jim Plunkett or something.
Yeah, I mean, they could have done a better job.
Oh, totally. So that's like the 7th time. Recovered again by Washington after another fumble. Junior Ayu, 10-year CFL vet. So he got that. So again, they're building talent for all this. Graphic comes up. Landry is. I already talked about that. How he was the first pick of the '68 draft. And then Corso. I'm not criticizing McQuillan, and then he proceeds to criticize McQuillan. He just doesn't have the quick feet to escape the gorillas that are chasing him.
I missed that second gorilla statement.
Yes. Well, might as well do 2, I suppose. Landry's showing some veteran presence. He's just someone who's been there. So it's not necessarily that he's so good. He's just experienced. Another reception. Corso says that he's one of the. What the hell? I don't even know what the hell I wrote. It's not important. Yeah, great note taking. I guess I'm as prepared as John. Well, I'm not drunk now, but I was drunk when I was watching it.
You had to be.
Well, yes, it helped. It sure as hell helped. Especially when my wife's saying, come to bed. Like, I gotta finish watching this football game from 1983.
Your wife must love you so much.
She tolerates me.
There's a big discrepancy between tolerance and love.
Not after 20 years.
Oh man. Okay. I cannot speak to that.
Yes. Here it is. Oh yeah, no. Corso said, Tremaine gets another reception. Now I know what I wrote down. Corso.
Was this his touchdown reception?
No, but this is like when he got to the 4 yard.
Okay.
Yard, and Corso said this is one of the best players in America. When he talks about Tremaine John, now obviously that's not true, but that's what you've got to tell people.
Yes.
So, and Corso, I don't know if he actually believed what he said,
Well, he later on made another statement that was very questionable. What did he phrase it? I don't know what Herschel Walker got, but this guy is better than Herschel Walker.
He did say,
I'm like,
yeah.
What?
Well,
Come on, Lee.
The only thing I can think of is that, I guess, because Walker played for Auburn, or was it Alabama? Auburn, right?
Oh my God, you got me stumped.
Well, he played in the South, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Oh no, Georgia.
Georgia. Okay, so
He was a Bulldog.
all right, so yeah, SEC. So I guess he wasn't playing against Herschel. Maybe if he did,
Yeah.
I don't know. Long rushes for a touchdown. The crowd boos. 14-0 Chicago. And then, despite what the commentator said, oh, McQuilkin's back in the game. Doofus is back, and he asks Johnson, "Do you feel like a pro?" I wrote down unintelligible. Because I don't know what Trumaine said. And then, while he's trying to answer the first dumb question, Doofus cuts him off. Is there any better receiver on the field than you? No. And so responds, that I understood. And at the moment, yes, he's right. There is no better receiver on this field than Trumaine Johnson. That is true at this particular game. McQuillick drops back, another incompletion. The crowd boos, and another incompletion, although this time it's the wide receiver was at fault, and they're booing the shit out of this guy. Corso says it's because, well, they paid $18 a ticket. If I did, I might boo too. Okay. Well, that's I looked up the inflation calculator later. That's $51. Of course, with your current president, that might be 61 next month.
Stop it.
Not that I have a better one. We called him just inflation.
Well, that's what happens when we have to keep interest rates down forever, and then we have a madman that wants to invade Europe and cut off oil and all that fun stuff.
Well, this is not a political show.
I was just going to say we need to get off our soapboxes and get back to the USFL.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you can't even shit on Trump. Trump wasn't even part of this yet.
I have notes about that we may or may not get to.
Okay, right. Another punt, only a 27-yard punt. Lampley is saying, well, things weren't always this easy for Landry. Why are you saying this? Like, you're don't say shit like that.
No.
This time, though, a drive is stalled and a 51-yard field goal attempt is blocked. Hohensee is now in, and the crowd is actually kind of into it a little bit, but again, 3 and out. They show a clip of the LA Express with a touchdown, and Lampley, again, in something so stupid, he says, doesn't the LA uniform remind you of something? Corso says, it looks like the Raiders. No, I think it looks like the Dallas Cowboys. Why are you comparing it to the big league again?
Again, I don't know who thought, I don't know why they're trying to either overemphasize that we're real football and our uniforms look like real uniforms. It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, well, we even had a graphic designer and everything came up with these terrible Oh, did you hear the story too about the Washington Federals uniform?
No, what was the story about that?
Okay, they did talk about it later. So I was trying to figure out who this owner was.
I just know they looked awful.
Yeah, so because you think they did talk about it because you think, well, Chicago wouldn't be the one red and white and blue, but they are. And the Federals were like this green and white or green and something, green and gray, whatever it was. They were awful uniforms. And the owner just said, well, it's the same colors as his yacht. Because, that's something that the lunch pail football fans are really going to get into. Oh, yeah, like when I'm out in my yacht.
And it's exactly what your players want to know. We're wearing uniforms designed after the yacht.
After a yacht.
That our $1 million owner obviously flaunts.
Again, very little self-awareness. That's true information that you don't need to share. It's just completely, it just doesn't make people feel connected.
No.
To this at all. Okay. Let's see. Spencer rushed again. Allen's playing very conservative, but he's showing he's really not afraid of Washington at all. So it's just like methodical. They're at the 50. They're at a point where they could go for 50-yard field goal. They decide that there's no point in doing that. It's near the 2-minute warning, and then the director shows fans in the stand who are wearing Washington Redskins gear. What?
Again, you're just the yes, we're here. We're football, and then you show the NFL uniforms at a USFL game, which is probably something that the director should not have panned to.
Yeah. They keep the drive alive. Pass to Willis outside of the 20. Washington blitz is unsuccessful. Landry rolls back, passes to Tremaine for a touchdown. The Washington fans boo. And that's when that line said on replay, I don't know what Herschel's got, but this guy's better than Herschel. Tremaine did not turn out to be better than Herschel Walker.
No.
If Tremaine runs for something, he might turn out to be better than Herschel. I don't think Herschel's going to win.
I have not been paying attention to that. I mean,
maybe he will. I don't know.
It just grinds me that's the choice down there.
Well,
I mean, yeah, he went to college. I'm not sure if he graduated.
Well, he went to college. It doesn't mean he went to class.
I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Well, Herschel's his own man. I'll give him that.
He is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so 21-0. We were spared the halftime show, which I'm sure was just some marching band. That's all it ever is. The doofus is back, and he interviews George Allen. Says he was riled up by a sign that said, George Allen doesn't win here anymore.
I'm sure that got him going.
Yeah, I'm sure that really affected his play. But obviously it got to him that he mentioned it. It got to his head in some capacity. I don't think it affected his coaching, but
no.
Nevertheless. Kickoff, we off to the second half, and I wrote down, Glenn's going to hate me because I already don't want to watch another half of this.
I think I had the game going, and I was already searching other USFL stuff, and I'm like, wasn't there a documentary and some cycling through?
Yes.
30 for 30, small potatoes. I'll watch that after this game.
Yeah, I got to watch that too again. Oh, man. And it's, well, let's see. Another simple drive, and Tremaine gets another first down. Tremaine's getting another first down. I wrote down Corsi, I think, has a boner right now because he's just absolutely in love with Tremaine Johnson.
Yes. Yeah.
A penalty and a sack stalls this. Sacked by Ron Etze, who was a 10-year CFL vet. Lampley talks about his height. Etze is only 6'2", and that's why he wasn't in the NFL. Again, you're shitting on your own people. I mean, yeah, you've got a 5'4" guy, and that's sort of the obvious person to say that about. So what? You run with it. He's the most exciting player out there. Mm-hmm. That's what Canada did when we had Mike Pinball Clemens.
Oh my God, could he play?
Right.
Could he play?
Yeah, I actually got to meet him. Great guy. I met him twice. There's a story that a buddy of mine told. His car broke down, and then somebody just pulls over to help out. It was pinball.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's the type of guy who he was. And, the CFL commentators aren't talking about, if only he was a few inches taller, unfortunately, we wouldn't see him on a regular basis. No, they just built him up like he's our star. Look what he can do. Mm-hmm. You don't have to say we're giving him a chance because he didn't pass the eye test of the NFL scouts. Just stupid shit.
Yeah, they didn't commentary or call the game like it was just an NFL game. It was almost like a pseudo infomercial trying to compare the two leagues and how, okay, we know this is in the NFL, but this is still good football.
I almost thought that Lampley was doing this because in some dumb way in his head, he thought, no, this is really a great player. Just like if he was a few inches taller, NFL would have looked at him. They missed out. But that's not how that comes.
It's not how it came across. No, it didn't.
Well, Chicago punts because their drive stalls. Hohensee gets his first down to James. I think that's the only time James ever did anything. Stat comes up that says James is the only player to carry the ball. Only that wasn't quite true, but he was the only one to rush with the ball. But anyway, big deal. Corsi says, don't worry about this. Hohensee is competitive. They're going to come back. Don't turn the channel. Right as soon as he says that, Hohensee misses his target for the fourth down. Or in a third down. Punting again, stats shown 18-1 in terms of first downs. Landry throws a bad pass. Doug Green of Washington should have picked that off, but he botches that. Fans boo. Gifford comes in case you care, the Express are up 20-9 over New Jersey. And then I wrote down, why aren't we watching this?
That's exact. I was thinking that. I'm thinking, well, this game was close, but still 20-9. That's a lot more scoring than I'm seeing here.
Yes, very much so. Landry does get sacked. Coy gets credit for a half sack. Punts. Washington starts at their own 18. And yeah, the producer must have liked that one cheerleader because it keeps showing her. It was the same cheerleader over and over again. James gives another rush that goes nowhere, and the refs miss such an easiest offside. Rush again. James finally gets a first down, and sarcastic applause rains down from the Washington fans. Like, yay, you finally did something.
Hey, the game might not be NFL caliber, but those fans can rain down the NFL sarcasm like nobody's business.
Yeah, they were doing it.
They were in midseason form.
They were. So then they tell us about that. That's when they tell the story about the Fed's colors and how the Blitz are owned by a construction magnate. Interestingly enough, as good as the Blitz were, Chicago did not support the team. They lost millions. And I wrote down here that I have to go to a whole Wikipedia thing on what happened here. So let me bring that up because it's really interesting what happened to the Blitz. So they played at Soldier Field, but they just never drew. So what was that happened here? Okay, so as it turned out, Arizona Wranglers owner Jim Joseph had lost just as much money as Dietrich, who was the owner of Blitz, and was looking to sell the Wranglers. Dietrich was willing to take over in Arizona if he could bring Allen and his NFL veteran-laden roster with him. Joseph agreed. Soon after, Dietrich found a buyer for the Blitz in Milwaukee, a heart surgeon. I mean, a heart surgeon? What do your doctors make down there?
Well, we make quite a bit.
Yeah. Obviously a lot more than Canada, that's for damn sure. And so, yeah, basically resulting in one of the most unusual transactions that essentially this whole team got swapped to Arizona.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy.
And Chicago managed to keep a team, and I don't think any of them ever really made anything, but yeah, so that was something I thought that was really, really bizarre. Attendance is something that they're going to talk about a little bit more too as we go along further, because they talk about some of that. Okay, so all right, so Chicago pass to Mark Brown, another first down, but a penalty nullifies that. Based on and the penalty was illegal use of hands, but there's no replay so that we can actually see what the hell happened. So great job there. They punt, and then Lampley says, whoever the guy was is always looking for someone short to interview, and he found one. We're talking about Doofus.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He was talking to 5'4" Reggie Smith, and so he says, "How do you think everything's going?" Well, I think they should throw. Do you think they should throw to you more? Yes, I'm always open. Great, I will tell the coach. Corsi says, every receiver says that. He's right. Chicago's doing whatever any team up 21-0 does. They're just eating the clock. What else are they going to do? And I wrote down, I wish I could fast forward. I could have, but I had to because of these announcers, I couldn't. Because I wanted to say something stupid. That's the only reason I kept watching.
To see what they were going to say, because obviously there wasn't going to be any more offense. I guess the only thing you were tuning in for is to see if it was going to be a shutout.
Well, I'll give Corsi credit. That's where he's actually trying to make a story out of nothing. Yes. I mean, I can see why he had a future as a type of football analyst. He got me interested.
Allen would like nothing better than to come into this stadium and pitch a shutout with his stellar defense. That's
a reason to keep watching.
Mm-hmm. And especially in the fourth quarter.
Right. Let's see. So then they announced that Tampa Bay had beaten Boston. So I guess that was technically the first game that actually happened, but that one wasn't available, I don't think, on TV.
No, I mean, we didn't even get highlights from that game. So I guess they only had a couple camera crews that they could send to each stadium, and they probably picked the wrong game to cover.
Well, I mean,
who knows? I mean,
going by market.
Tampa Bay, what was it, 21-17? And I guess that was Steve Spurrier's first head coaching win.
Yeah. So like I wonder how things worked out for him.
I think he won a few games.
Yeah.
A few titles.
Here's a plug. You can vote for him in the coaching section on the United States Athletic Hall of Fame, which Glenn and I are part of.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, why not? It's perfect.
Absolutely.
www.notinhallofame.com/USA. All right.
The only Hall of Fame of its kind.
The only one of its kind. And it took another doofus. Oops. I call myself a doofus as I knock over my laptop. There's perfect timing. To think of it. Okay, so another 3-and-out punt. They're already resting Spencer. They figure, okay, we're not gonna keep putting him out there. So then they talk about how this is an interesting thing to say. This was from Corsi. Allen said, well, he's a part owner and it would look bad for the USFL if there was a blowout. So maybe that's why he's being conservative. Again, another stupid thing to say.
I mean, I'm thinking, okay, so now is this going to be like WWE wrestling where we're going to stage games and try to keep them competitive? And that's the thought that crossed my mind when Corso said that, okay, so we're going to rig games to make fans watch. That's not the message you want to put out to your fan base.
Yeah, awful. Doofus is now talking to Junior Ayu. Boring, whatever.
Doofus.
Care less what he had to say. Lampley is now trying to make excuses. Now he's going the other way. So, well, because the attendance wasn't full. I couldn't figure out what the attendance was. They did say that the paid attendance was 38,000. They said that later. There's no way 38,000 people were at that game.
Oh, it's shitty weather.
Yeah, well, Lampley, that's what Lampley said. The weather is bad, and that's probably why they didn't get to 30,000, but did say that over in Tampa, they drew 42,000. And it wasn't like that when the AFL started in 1961. They started in 1960, a moron, first off. And second off, football wasn't as big then. Tremaine gets the ball again. He's within the 15. They do another crowd shot, and some random guy who has a box on his head. He's just wearing a box on his head. I don't know why, but he was wearing a box. Another 4-yard rush and then an 11-yard touchdown pass to Ricker. 28-0, 7:33 to go in the third. Off the kickoff, this was the most blatant face mask
I've
ever seen.
I thought his head was going to come off in the helmet.
Oh my God. And then Corsa, he didn't do it intentionally. Right as
he didn't.
Otherwise, that he did do it intentionally. That was awful. I've never seen anything like that. That is absolutely insane that he got to stay in the game. But I guess we're looking at that with 2022 eyes, because we know what would have happened now. And they're trying to make an excuse. Well, he's just so short. So they thought he thought he was grabbing the shoulder pad. Yeah,
would hit his chest or something like that. Yeah.
Doofus is now interviewing Landry, who looks like 2022 Joe Namath. Landry is an old-looking individual, but whatever. But again, saying is this good enough football? Is it good enough football? Or are we good enough? Are we good enough?
Yeah.
Jesus. It's like when I used to ask my dad for approval. Am I good enough, Dad? All right. Another sack, and then Washington, they do something a little bit more different. Now they're going to a 2-minute drill, no huddle, and now it's actually getting a little bit interesting. In terms of the Washington offense, they're trying something different, and it's working. But before that, they announced that the attendance in Denver was 45,000 for their game, and apparently they finished the season averaging over 40,000.
It's not bad numbers.
No, those are better than CFL.
For spring football, absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. So Hohensee, they're going for that, but Luther Bradley, so he makes a catch on 4th and short. That's when they're still going for it, because at least now they have to. Honsi makes another 4th down completion, 20 yards to Walker Lee, another one to Joey Walters, who last year was the leading receiver in the CFL. So that's somebody, at least, you're mixing things up, because going to James each time sure as hell isn't working. But that's the end of that, because it's intercepted by former Detroit Lion Luther Bradley in the end zone. 4 minutes left, and Chicago's playing conservative, because what else are you going to do? Punt, Feds had 12 men in the field. They're stupid. Lampley calls the team the Redskins. Oops. Well, yeah.
He not the full name, but he had the slip up.
He did have the slip up, so yeah, okay, could have been worse. Then there's another first down, but 2-minute warning, but another pick in the end zone by Bradley. So it looks like it's good. It's going to be the shutout. Corsi he's going nuts. Or Corso, I was getting it wrong. He's going nuts. Like, okay, Allen wants the shutout. All right, so now I've got a reason to stick it through. Will George Allen get his shutout?
And that was it. Yeah, that's the only reason I stayed to see if it was going to be a shutout, and I didn't fast forward. I actually watched it start to finish.
And it doesn't look like it's going to be. IU gets to the quarterback, but then the next play, Walters gets to the 34, a pass interference call, and the shutout's gone because a touchdown pass to Walker Lee. And no shutout with 8 seconds left, and they just run off the clock. So 28-7, a pretty much a boring game. I almost wanted it to be 28-0, because at least that would have been, I think, a better story. They say that Hohensee should have been the starter for the next week, which he wasn't, as I would read. And apparently that they were flip-flopping quarterbacks all year.
It shows in their record.
Yeah, so that pretty much ends. Like if I was watching that as my first USFL game, and it would have been hard to get me back.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't put the final yardage, but I mean, at some point at the end of the third quarter, Chicago had 307 yards of offense, and Washington only had 44. And that's not exciting football to watch.
No, and there was clear that one was a real pro team and the other one wasn't. Just in terms of personnel. Allen and company built together a pretty decent football team. The Federals did not. They never drew 20,000 more to a game the rest of the year. I think that was the team that wound up being Orlando. And 3 years later, the USFL would go under, win the antitrust suit, but win this. I still don't understand how this works. How do you win a suit, and then your award is only $1? You just rewatch that, so maybe you remember. I don't.
Yeah. The jurors, they gave it ended up being like $3.76, the sum of damages. But the thing that screwed the USFL is that they didn't continue playing, which was a problem. The jury felt that they just stopped playing and were banking on a lawsuit to be able to fund the league. Donald Trump became the face of the USFL, for better or for worse. The jury figured, okay, well, he's got enough money. He doesn't need money, and none of these owners need money. So yes, the NFL lost the lawsuits, but the damages amounted to $3.76. But the NFL also had to pay legal fees for the USFL, which amounted to about $6 million. So in retro, it probably would have been better off if the USFL headline read, they win lawsuit, get $6 million from the NFL, which would have put a better face on the whole situation versus the mockery of a $3.76 check that was going to be divided amongst, at that point, 18 teams.
He never cashed that check, if I remember from that time.
No, it's put in a safety deposit box somewhere. And the director for 30 for 30 went to the gentleman, and I think the former commissioner, and got it and paraded it around, showed it to Burt Reynolds, who was part owner of the Tampa Bay franchise.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Or I guess,
brought it to his Trump meeting in Trump Tower for that interview about the USFL. And Trump looks at it and he said, "Oh, okay, well, I'll give this back to you," which is okay. Well, I'm guessing he wasn't giving you the check to keep. So yeah, you were going to give it back. But yeah, I mean, and this is probably for another show, but yeah, Donald Trump pretty much ruined the USFL.
but he also kept it going too, to a certain degree. Donald, to Trump's credit or detriment, maybe like you said, but let's say to his credit, he was probably one of the few owners who actually had serious dollars. Because a lot of these guys don't seem to be names that I wonder, like, how much money do you really have?
Right.
To be a part of this. But then you're also banking on, I think, that fact, like you said, if they wind up becoming part of something bigger, all of a sudden you're worth something. You're worth, net worth, just
yes,
rockets.
And according to the documentary, Trump and maybe 4 other owners were the only ones that wanted to push this lawsuit. Or maybe it was they wanted to push expansion, because the minute Trump got in there, the next year they went from 12 teams to 18 teams at 4 million per. So you're adding 24 million to your coffers. And I guess there were 4 owners that were really broke, and they just agreed with Donald Trump, said, okay, yeah, let's sell this product. Let's get more money into the bank and see what we can do from there. And I don't know where the money went. They didn't, I mean, it was only an hour-long documentary, so they didn't go into specifics of the finances, but it probably didn't go back into the product. It probably went into these hemorrhaging, quote unquote, millionaires who were broke because they bought these teams that they probably shouldn't have bought in the first place. So,
yeah, I think so too. Because again, like I joked earlier, but like, well, if you're a heart surgeon, how rich can you be? But obviously, a lot richer than what I do for a living. Which this
right.
Until my wife makes me get a real job again, which I think is coming.
Well, you are in Canada, so you can work, right?
Yeah, I can go back.
Does she know that?
Yeah, she knows that.
But yeah, I mean, watching the documentary, and not just this one game, the USFL could have prospered. I mean, their championship game was a good game. I mean, it ended up being the Michigan Panthers against the Philadelphia Stars. And your boy, Bobby Hebert, was the winning quarterback in that game. And I didn't put down the scores, but it was closer than the Super Bowl that was held in that same stadium that year.
Right.
And then going into year 2 is when Trump did buy the Generals. And let's face it, he bought the Generals because he wanted to get into football. We all know the NFL owners did not want to touch him with a 10-foot pole.
He wanted to buy the NFL. That's what he wanted.
Yeah, he wanted an NFL franchise, and his whole dream was to be able to compete with the NFL in the hopes that his franchise would get absorbed and he would have paid next to nothing to get his seat at the NFL table.
Right.
And that didn't happen.
Didn't he almost try to buy the Bills at one point?
This last go around, before after Ralph Wilson died, his owner, in fact, I'll try to keep this story as brief as possible. If you remember, Trump was in to get it. There was a Bon Jovi group, and then the Pagulas, and then a couple other hedge fund managers who obviously have money and can afford to buy an NFL team. Rumor has it, and you can take it for what it's worth, but the rumor in Buffalo is that Bon Jovi was going to buy the team and possibly relocate it, possibly to Canada.
To Toronto, because that's around the same time that Air Canada Center, I still can't believe this exists. They unveiled a banner from the rafters for John Bon Jovi.
That's wild. That's wild.
Yeah.
So when that happened, our classic rock station, 97 Rock, banned Bon Jovi songs from the airwaves. Later on, there was rumors that Donald Trump was in fact the person that spread that rumor that, okay, if the Bon Jovi group gets this team, it's being moved up to Toronto.
You know, I heard things. I heard someone was saying
exactly.
That. Someone had said, like, I do remember who it was, but it was at a party.
Exactly. And during the Donald's presidency, his whole tax situation, he had to provide numbers when he was putting in the bid for the bills.
Mhm.
And so there was evidence in there. There was not substantial, circumstantial evidence that kind of alluded to Donald Trump inflating some assets and deflating other assets
No.
as part of this bid.
Oh.
So a glimpse into his taxes came out because he was trying to feed his ego to get a seat at that NFL table when his financials had to be slightly exposed.
Mhm.
So there was a period of time where the Bills' financials were playing a significant role in the investigation of Donald Trump's taxes.
How were the Pagulas as owners? They seem pretty committed to Buffalo from what little I know or see.
That's a sore subject for me.
Oh, so they're not.
They are. I mean, we're in the predicament right now where we're baffled how one team could be doing so well, the Buffalo Bills,
Mhm.
From a management standpoint, sports management, that is, the play on the field and whatnot, and how the other franchise could just be so bad. That's issue number one. Issue number two, there is a rumor that the Pagulas are trying to sell the Sabres. Whether or not that's fact or fiction, I don't know, but I find that hard to believe because when Terry did buy the franchise and he took over, they had the ceremony or the press conference at whatever, whether it was HSBC or First Niagara Center, whatever. The French Connection was there to greet him, and he got teary-eyed when he got to meet Gilbert Perreault, his hero, from watching the Sabres in the 70s. So whether or not he's buckling under the financial disaster that might be the Sabres, I mean, I showed you, I don't know if I showed you the photo from the hockey game last night.
Yeah.
Or the other night. Me and my cousin got tickets in the 300 sections for like 20 some odd bucks.
Mhm.
I told him, I said, well, do you want to go up to our seats or do you want to squat in the lower bowl right away? He says, I don't care. Well, we squatted in what would be like $150 seats.
Mhm.
And that's what everybody's been doing all season. So I'm sure there are financial issues there. Now, is he committed to Buffalo? And all my Twitter followers, all 5 of you guys, know that my opinion about
Well, it's basically me and Bottle Guy.
Yes.
Well, you've a lot more followers than that, but it just.
I do want more followers than Bottle Guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they did the stadium research, I think, a couple years ago. I don't know what independent firm they got, but the Bills hired a firm to do a study on what stadium would be most beneficial to the area. And as it turns out, a downtown stadium would be more beneficial. It would cost more. Yet the Bills and Governor Kathy Hochul and Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz are backing the stadium that's going to be built right next to Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park with, as you may have seen, $850 million of taxpayer dollars. Now, there are countless studies that state that sports teams, stadiums, they do not benefit the community to what the investments of taxpayer dollars going into those projects are. Orchard Park is a suburb that's a good half-hour drive from Buffalo.
Yeah, been there many times.
There is nothing there in Orchard Park. Yet we're investing $850 million in this stadium, and we're not going to get anything. And as my 5 Twitter followers know, I've been championing a downtown dome stadium linked to a convention center, linked to a hotel complex, linked to tapping in some of those infrastructure dollars to get our subway that only runs 8 miles from one end of the city to the other, to get that bad boy to go up to Niagara Falls, to extend that out to the airport. And it doesn't have to be underground. It could be above ground rail, but to do something big. And this is your one opportunity where you can go $2 billion and do it right.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what we're doing, and the Pagulas didn't push it. So my thought process is, yes, they're good football owners. because the team is doing really good and they're going to be able to make a lot of money off of it because of the lease agreement and what the community is going to end up giving them. Not so much on the Sabres side because the team's been really shitty and there hasn't been too much improvements to the arena over the last 15 years. So it's a mixed bag depending on who you talk to. But I mean, hats off to both Kim and Terry Pegula. They bought the Sabres. They kept them in town. When Ralph passed away, they stepped up, bought the Bills, kept them in town. And good or bad with the whole stadium and lease situation, the Bills will be here for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
Which I guess is the main point that we're all looking at.
All right. Yeah, no, and that's kind of the stuff that I wanted. I've forgotten, or I don't know if I forgot or I never knew that the Pegulas owned the Sabres. I didn't know. Yeah, I probably didn't know that now that I think about it.
Which is why, I mean, a lot of the people in the area said, okay, not that you have to play hardball, but the Pegulas have an interest in Buffalo. And if they move the Bills, then your Sabres are going to be worthless.
Yeah, and it's
within the city. And
to your point too about Orchard Park, it's not like you're killing an area that is built. Like they've been playing there. How long have they been playing in Orchard Park? Ever since I can remember.
God, whenever the state 71-ish.
Okay, so
I think is when the stadium went up.
So nothing's been built around it. Like, how many are you killing? Even any bars in that area? I don't even think so. Because like anytime I've ever gone to a Bills game, all we're pretty much doing is just tailgating.
Yes, you're tailgating. You're going to the stadium. You're going to their tailgates. You're staying in the stadium for the game. You're getting out of the stadium and waiting to leave, either more post-game tailgating or being stuck in traffic. Yeah, you do a downtown stadium, you'll be able to take the light rail to the entertainment district or the dining district, and you're going to spend money.
Yeah, because you're not hurting anybody except for those 20 houses that maybe make a few $100 for parking. That's it.
Yeah, the private lots around this stadium. And that could be another issue. I mean, and again, you've been there, and there are either 5 or 6 stadium lots. And I don't know what the price range is now. I mean, the last time I went to a game, I think it was $25 a car.
I may have been drunk every time. So
you don't know what you were given
I was never driving actually either too. And
that's probably a good thing. But yeah, I mean, between the regular car lots, the camper lots, which, I mean, you can go there Thursday and you're basically paying for your asphalt campsites. That might be a $100 parking pass to be there.
Yeah, so you're hurting no private business at all.
No, but if you move that downtown, the Bills are going to lose that parking lot revenue. And I don't know how much that revenue is.
Oh, yeah, okay, it could be. Yeah, that's something interesting. Now that I'm going to be living right across from where the Jets play, so in the heart of cool. It's going to be. I'm going to the AHL, going to my first AHL game tonight, so pretty pumped for that. First row, $25.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, so sweet.
Yeah, playing against Toronto, the Marlies. So can't beat the Leafs. Maybe we'll beat the Marlies.
There you go. There you go.
All right. So with that, this brings this episode to a close. Can we agree that we're going to do that Ernest Biner game?
Absolutely. In fact, just to let the cat out of the bag and revealing the curtain, we were supposed to do that show when I was in New Zealand.
Yep.
For my 2-week quarantine, and I'd watched the wrong game. I'd watched the other Denver game, and I'm like, son of a bitch, I got to go back and watch this other game, which wasn't a big deal because I was quarantining in a hotel room for 2 weeks. So yeah, I watched that game. And I don't know if you watched the game yet.
No, I haven't, because usually I just sort of wait until I know we're going to do it. And then stay there. Oh, I'm ready at such and such a time. And then I watch usually the day before.
Okay. I watched both games, and it's scary how similar the games panned out and how similar the commentary was on how they were both pretty much identical seasons for both Denver and Cleveland. And oddly enough, they both kind of ended the same way for each team.
I'll see if I can get a special guest to sort of join us. And yeah, so with that sort of brings this show to a close. Hey, this is my plugging time. I'm going to plug away.
No, I'm not going to stop you.
Okay, all right. Check out the other shows on the Kirk Buchner Network. Kirk Buchner Network? Should we call it that?
That's so prima donna-ish.
Isn't it? Well, until I get other shows where where there's people other than me,
To where you're just producing and not in front of the camera.
or that'd be nice. That would be nice because like you said before, they're not tuning in for my face.
No.
You know, and again, I look better than Ray Yock, who's 5 years older, 5 years older than he did. But again, I'm not Brad Pitt. I'm not Armpit, but I'm not Brad Pitt. Other shows that we've done or that are coming up pretty soon. Doing a spit take there. Okay.
Oh, Brad Pitt, Armpit, I love it. I might use that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm preventing you from plugging everything on the Not in Hall of Fame franchise
Absolutely.
network.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, the flagship, Evan Nolan and I, and you were a special guest on that a couple times. When we were every week we look at Halls of Fame because that's what we do. It's about Halls of Fame. That's something that we shoot every week. Vinny Lospinuso, the Wonder Kids, got a show where he makes the Hall of Fame case for people I've never heard of.
Well, he thinks everyone should be in the Hall of Fame.
What's that?
Vinny thinks everyone should be in the Hall of Fame.
Vinny does think everyone should be in the Hall of Fame. Pretty soon he's going to make a case for why the Circle should be in the Hall of Fame. Because the Circle brought us to a sphere, which brought us to a ball.
I love Vinny. I love Vinny.
I kid, but they're always entertaining, and you always learn about somebody that you never heard of. They're informative. The last one that we just did was on Frank Lubin, the godfather or the grandfather of Lithuanian basketball.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I got to tune into that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a reason why Lithuanians are really big in basketball. And it's because of this one guy named Frank Lubin in the 1940s. So it was something interesting that I didn't know about. So I guess sort of like that was the biggest reason that in 1992, the Dream Team faced Lithuania in the finals. Because Lithuanians love basketball. Who knew?
They do.
Vinny knew, and Vinny tells us about that sort of thing. There's a regular show that we do called How the Hell Did This Go Number One? Unfortunately, my partners, Andrew Tessman and Brad Nelson, because we alternate the picks, the whole point of the show is supposed to be, how the hell did this go number one? But they keep picking good songs. So the last one they did was Yakety Yak. That's a great song by the Coasters. Brad's just picked, we're going to record that next Tuesday, Another Brick in the Wall. The only number one by Pink Floyd. So when I get to pick, boy, do I have a shit sandwich wrapped in a turd for you two. I'll tell you off the air what it's going to be, but I'm not going to tell them because they may not want
No spoilers. No spoilers.
No. Yeah. So we have that one, and Chris Bourdais' latest show on this crap was on national television, it's on our YouTube channel right now, where we look at That 80s Show. And it was bad. It was bad. It was a show by people who lived through the 80s but didn't remember actually any of it, because that's not really how I remembered it. But anyway, that was their version of it. We look at that and why that was crap, and we're going to be looking at the 1989 Oscars at some point in time. I don't know when we're going to do that, but yeah, that's the cobweb of shows, the cobweb of programming. How about that? Is that less pretentious?
That's awesome. I like it.
All right. The cobweb, the Not in Hall of Fame cobweb. No, it sounds like we're just trapping bugs. No, maybe
you can work on it.
I can work on it. I probably won't. That's what happens when you've lost half your brain cells due to excessive carbonated beverages of a certain variety. And with that note, wherever you are, wherever you may be, and in Glenn's case, it's Buffalo, and in mine, it's Winnipeg, stay safe.